My heart gave out in a conference room filled with 40 people, but my parents never showed up. They were preoccupied because my sister was having a meltdown over paint colors. So, from my hospital bed, I called my lawyer instead. It happened right there, in the middle of what was supposed to be the defining presentation of my career. My heart literally seized and stopped beating. When I finally came to, feeling utterly alone and terrified, I discovered that the very people who should have been rushing to my side had prioritized choosing paint samples over my life. The fluorescent lights of the meeting room overhead began to flicker, momentarily blinding me. I tried to steady myself, gripping the edges of the podium, but my strength was failing. As 40 pairs of eyes stared back at me, a chilling realization washed over me that something was catastrophically wrong. And as you can see from the third quarter forecasts, my voice wavered, betraying my failing body. The presentation slides blurred into an incomprehensible swirl of charts and colors. My heart wasn't just racing. It felt like a trapped animal desperately trying to claw its way out of my ribcage. My name is Clara, and on that day I was dying. "Miss Vale, are you all right?" A concerned voice called out from the front row. I parted my lips to respond, but no sound emerged. The entire room began to spin violently. As my body crumpled to the floor, the ceiling tiles rotated in a dizzying pattern above me. A cacophony of voices erupted around me. "Call 911. Is she breathing? Everyone, please clear the room." My assistant, Maria, appeared in my line of sight, her face a mask of terror, mascara already streaking down her cheeks. "Clara, stay with us. An ambulance is on its way." I tried to reach for my phone, but my arms felt as heavy as solid lead. Call my parents," I managed to rasp before the world faded to absolute black. The next thing I was aware of was an intense, biting cold. So incredibly cold. Doctors moved around me, their voices urgent yet hushed. Fragments of their conversation pierced through the fog in my mind. Words like cardiac arrhythmia and emergency surgery. "Please," I pleaded with the nurse who was prepping my arm for an IV. "My phone. I need to call my family." She hesitated for a moment before placing it in my hand. With fingers that trembled uncontrollably, I dialed my mother's number. It went straight to voicemail. I tried my father. The result was the same. My text messages grew more frantic with each attempt. "Mom, I'm in the hospital. Dad, please pick up. They're taking me into surgery. I'm so scared." The nurse offered me a sympathetic smile as she gently took the phone from my grasp. "We need to go now, honey. I'm sure they'll be here when you wake up." They weren't. I woke up hours later in the intensive care unit, disoriented, in pain, and completely, utterly alone. The relentless, rhythmic beeping of the monitors was the only sound in my solitary confinement. Maria had left a thoughtful note, promising to return in the morning, but the hospital's strict after-hours policy permitted only immediate family. Immediate family. What a cruel joke that felt like now. Around 3 a.m, a night nurse came in to check my vitals. She had compassionate eyes and a gentle touch as she adjusted my IV drip. "Your mother left a message on your voicemail a little while ago," she said, reaching for my phone. "Would you like me to play it for you?" I nodded, a fragile flicker of hope igniting in my chest. Then I heard her voice. "Hi, sweetie. We got your texts, but we just can't get away right now. Tiffany is having an absolute nuclear meltdown over the color. They painted her new apartment. She's just inconsolable. You know how she gets. We'll try to swing by tomorrow if she's feeling a bit better. Love you." The nurse's expression said everything. I turned my head away, hot, bitter tears streaming down my temples into my hair. "Would you like me to call someone else for you?" she asked softly. A memory, sharp and painful, flooded my mind. Last Christmas, I'd written a $50,000 check to clear Tiffany's spiraling credit card debt. My mother had barely glanced up from helping Tiffany arrange her new collection of designer handbags. "Thanks, Clara. You're such a good sister." A good sister, a good daughter, a good personal ATM. I wiped the tears from my eyes and looked directly at the nurse. "Actually, yes. Could you hand me my phone, please? I need to call my lawyer." She handed it to me, a flicker of concern on her face. My hands were surprisingly steady as I scrolled through my contacts and pressed the call button for Ethan. "Ethan, it's Clara. I know how late it is, but I need you. Bring the paperwork, all of it." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure. I'm in the ICU at Mount Sinai." I paused, anticipating his next question. "No, my family isn't here." "That's precisely why I'm calling." After ending the call, I stared blankly at the ceiling, the steady beep of my heart monitor now a rhythm for my newfound resolve. I had almost died today, and my sister's drama over a paint color had been deemed more important. 20 years of similar incidents cascaded over me like a tidal wave. Tiffany throwing a tantrum at my college graduation because the attention wasn't on her. My parents missing my company's official launch party because Tiffany had a bad date. Countless times, I was the one cleaning up her messes while my own achievements were left to gather dust. My phone buzzed, an Instagram notification. Tiffany had just posted a selfie with our parents. All three of them were beaming, crowded around a fan of paint swatches. The caption read, "Worst day ever. Thank God for family who drops everything to support you. Blessed family first crisis." I powered off my phone and closed my eyes, feeling something hard and cold solidifying in my chest. It wasn't my heart this time. It was pure, unadulterated determination. Ethan would be here in the morning, and we would begin the systematic demolition of the life I had built for them. And for the very first time, I wouldn't feel a single ounce of guilt about it. Ethan arrived at 9 in the morning, looking sharp in his suit, his leather briefcase bulging with documents. He took one look at me, pale and hooked up to a web of monitors, and his professional facade instantly crumbled. "Jesus, Clara, you look like hell." "Thanks," I managed, a weak smile touching my lips. "I always knew I could count on you for brutal honesty. Did you bring everything?" He pulled up a chair and began laying out documents on my bedside table. "Everything you asked for." "But are you absolutely sure about this? This is aggressive." "My heart literally stopped yesterday, Ethan." "And my family was too busy debating paint swatches to even care," I said, the bitterness sharp in my voice. "I'd say aggressive is exactly what this situation demands." Ethan nodded, his jaw tightening. We'd been friends since law school. He'd been a reluctant witness to my family's dynamics for years. "All right, then. Let's begin with the changes to your will." For the next hour, we moved methodically through the mountain of paperwork. With each page I signed, my signature grew steadier, as if my hand understood the rightness of this act even while my heart ached with grief. "Okay, that's your parents removed as beneficiaries," Ethan confirmed, setting a stack aside. "Next up, revoking their power of attorney, and then their access to your financial accounts, the ones you've been using to bankroll Tiffany's lifestyle." A memory surfaced. Last summer, standing in my parents' kitchen holding Tiffany's latest credit card statement. It's only 70,000 this time, my mother had said, not even looking up from her magazine. You know how hard things have been for her since that breakup. Do it, I told Ethan, my voice firm. All of it. He produced another set of documents. And the vacation house in Florida. List it today if you can. But your parents spend every summer there. Not anymore. My phone vibrated. A text from my mom. Tiffany finally chose the perfect shade of sage green. Crisis averted. How are you feeling, sweetheart? I showed the text to Ethan, who let out a low whistle. That's just something else. Watch this, I said, opening the family group chat. My fingers flew across the screen. Just to update you all, I am still in the intensive care unit following emergency heart surgery. Thank you for asking. I'm so relieved to hear Tiffany's walls will be sage instead of seafoam. Definitely worth missing your daughter's near-death experience for. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Poking the bear, aren't you? More like waking it from hibernation, I murmured, a cold satisfaction creeping into my voice. They've been asleep in their bubble of denial for far too long. My phone immediately erupted with notifications. My mother, Clara, don't be so dramatic. The doctor said you were stable. My father, we'll visit soon, princess. And Tiffany, predictably, OMG, why are you always trying to make my apartment crisis about you? I turned my phone face down on the table. Let's keep going with the papers, Ethan. By lunchtime, we had executed every necessary step to surgically sever my finances from my family's parasitic grasp. As Ethan was packing up his briefcase, my best friend Maya burst into the room, carrying a real cup of coffee and looking absolutely murderous. I just saw Tiffany's Instagram story, she fumed, handing me the coffee. She's doing a full home renovation reveal, complete with tags like blessed, new beginnings, and family support. Not a single goddamn mention of the fact that her sister almost died yesterday. Of course not, I said, taking a grateful sip. That would require acknowledging the existence of another human being. I've got the papers ready to file, Ethan said, standing up. But I can hold them until tomorrow. Give you a night to sleep on it. I shook my head, my resolve unwavering. File them now, Ethan. I've had 38 years to think this through. After they left, I scrolled through my phone. Tiffany had posted again, a boomerang video of herself twirling joyfully in her freshly painted living room. My mother and father stood in the background, applauding enthusiastically. The caption read, "Sometimes it takes a village. So grateful for parents who drop everything to help in a crisis. Blessed Paint Day family first." My thumb hovered over the comment button. Instead, I opened my email and composed a message to my entire professional and personal contact list. Dear friends and colleagues, I am currently recovering in the ICU at Mount Sinai after undergoing emergency heart surgery. While I am expected to make a full recovery, it was a very close call. I am sharing this not for sympathy, but to explain my absence from the office. I am also sharing this because yesterday taught me a valuable lesson about family. Sometimes the people who are supposed to show up for you don't, and sometimes that's the most important wake-up call you can ever receive. Best, Clara. I hit send and then turned off my phone. Let them deal with the public fallout of their own choices. I was done providing cover for them. A nurse came in to check my vitals. She glanced at the pile of documents Ethan had left on the table. Making some big decisions today, huh? Life-changing ones? She looked at the monitor. Your heart rate is much more stable. I gazed out the window at the distant Manhattan skyline, feeling lighter than I had in decades. Yeah, I replied. I think it's finally remembering how to beat for itself instead of for everyone else. She squeezed my hand before she left, and in the quiet of my hospital room, I could have sworn I heard the distant sound of bridges burning. It sounded exactly like freedom. My parents finally graced me with their presence 3 days after my surgery. My mother swept in, draped in her signature Hermes scarf and carrying a bouquet of lilies that likely cost more than a day's stay in my room. My father trailed behind her, looking deeply uncomfortable in the sterile environment. "Oh, darling," my mother cooed, as if we were meeting for a casual brunch instead of her seeing her daughter post-cardiac arrest. "These fluorescent lights are absolutely brutal on your complexion. Nearly dying tends to have that effect," I stated flatly. My father cleared his throat. "Now, princess, there's no need for that tone. We're here now." 3 days later, I clarified. My mother began arranging the flowers, filling the silence with chatter. "Tiffany so wanted to come, but she's still dealing with the contractor. It's been such a nightmare. They completely botched the crown molding. She's been in tears all morning." I pressed the morphine button on my IV drip, not for the pain, but for patience. "Where is Tiffany, anyway?" my father asked, looking around the room as if she might materialize from behind a curtain. "Probably posting about her crown molding crisis on Instagram," I replied dryly. "Did you know her story about paint swatches got more likes than my announcement about emergency surgery?" My mother's hands stilled on the flowers. "Clara, please, you know how sensitive she is. She's been absolutely beside herself with worry about your situation." "My situation?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You mean the one where my heart literally stopped beating?" A knock on the door prevented them from answering. Ethan walked in, impeccably dressed and carrying his leather portfolio. My mother's face immediately brightened. She had always harbored a delusion that we would end up together. "Ethan, how lovely to see you." "Are you here to check on our girl?" "Actually," he said, walking directly to my bedside, "I'm here in my professional capacity." He handed me a folder. I opened it slowly, savoring the moment. "Mom, Dad, you remember that Ethan is my lawyer, right?" The color drained from my mother's face. My father's pasted-on smile faltered. "These are copies of the documents I filed yesterday," I explained, my voice steady and strong. "I've removed you both as beneficiaries from my will, revoked your access to all of my accounts, and listed the vacation house in Florida for sale." "But the house," my father stammered. "Where will we go in the summer?" "Not my concern." My mother's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat. "Clara, you can't be serious." "We're family." "Family?" I let out a sharp laugh, and the cardiac monitor beeped in protest at my agitation. "Let me tell you about family. Last month, I paid off Tiffany's $70,000 credit card debt. The month before that, I covered her rent when she forgot to pay it for 3 straight months. Last year, I funded her entire failed jewelry business. And do you know what I got in return when my heart stopped beating and I needed you most? You chose paint swatches over your daughter who was dying. So don't you dare talk to me about family." "That's not fair," my father said softly. "No," I shot back, leaning forward as much as my IV lines would allow. "What's not fair is that I have spent my entire adult life being your backup plan, your safety net, and your personal ATM. Well, guess what? The Bank of Clara is officially and permanently closed." Ethan handed them each a packet of papers. "These detail all the changes. I suggest you read them carefully." My mother flipped through the documents, her expression turning to one of pure disbelief. This is ridiculous." "You won't go through with this. Family sticks together, Clara, you know that. I looked her dead in the eye. If that's true, then why did I almost die completely alone? The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. The house is already listed, Ethan added quietly. We're expecting it to sell quickly in this market. My father sank into a visitor's chair, the papers crumpling in his fist. Princess, please, let's just talk about this rationally. I had plenty of time for rational thought while I was lying in this bed alone for 3 days, I retorted. Did you know the nurses took turns sitting with me after my surgery because they felt so sorry that I had no family here? Strangers showed more compassion than my own parents. My mother's mascara was beginning to run. You're just being dramatic. We came as soon as we could. After Tiffany's paint crisis was resolved, I clarified. Check your priorities, Mom. Better yet, check your phone. I'm sure Tiffany is having another meltdown about her crown molding as we speak. As if on cue, my mother's phone buzzed. She glanced at it instinctively. Go ahead, I said. Answer it. We both know you're going to. She stood up, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. This isn't over, Clara. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. We'll talk about this when you're feeling more yourself. Actually, I said, pressing the nurse's call button. We won't. I'm ready for my rest now. As security, prearranged by Ethan, escorted them out, I heard my mother's voice crack. She can't do this to us. She's our daughter. No, I whispered to the empty room. I was just the backup daughter you never really wanted but always seemed to need, and I quit. The monitor showed my heart rate evening out, beating steady and strong, as if it knew this was just the beginning. The phone rang at 3 a.m. Tiffany's name flashed on the screen. I answered out of a grim sense of curiosity. How dare you? Her voice was a shriek of pure rage. How dare you do this to Mom and Dad? Good morning to you too, Tiffany. How's the crown molding crisis? Don't you dare be sarcastic with me. They're devastated. Mom hasn't stopped crying and Dad had to take a Xanax. I adjusted my hospital bed, sitting up straighter. Interesting how they can have such strong emotional reactions to consequences, yet couldn't muster any concern when I was literally dying. Oh my God, you are not dying. Stop being so dramatic. My heart stopped, Tiffany. It actually stopped beating, but please tell me more about your paint emergency. She made a noise that was halfway between a scream and a sob. You need to fix this. You need to call Ethan right now and undo all of it. Or what? Or I'll never speak to you again. I laughed. A genuine, unrestrained laugh for the first time in what felt like forever. Is that supposed to be a threat? The line went quiet for a beat. When Tiffany spoke again, her voice had that familiar, manipulative quiver that always preceded her getting exactly what she wanted. Remember when we were kids and you promised you'd always take care of me? A memory flashed through my mind. I was 12, she was 6. She had destroyed my science fair project the night before it was due, spilling a bottle of glue all over weeks of work. My mother had scolded me for not sharing my supplies. Actually, I do remember, I said. I remember a lot of things, Tiffany, like how I sold Grandma's ring, my only inheritance from her, to bail you out of debt 3 years ago. Remember what you said then. Thanks, sis, you're the best. Right before you went on a shopping spree with Mom. That's different. I needed you. You always need Tiffany, and I'm always expected to provide. Well, the well has run dry. I'm done. Mom wants to have a meeting, she said, switching tactics. One last family meeting to talk this all through. I considered it for a moment. Fine, tomorrow at noon, the hospital cafeteria. But my contractor, noon, take it or leave it. She huffed her agreement, but I wasn't finished. And Tiffany, I'm bringing Maya. Your annoying friend, why? Because I'm done being outnumbered. The next day, my parents arrived first, looking haggard and sleep-deprived. Tiffany swept in 15 minutes late, wearing oversized sunglasses and clutching an iced cappuccino like a life support system. Maya sat beside me, radiating an aura of protective energy. She had known the truth about my family's dynamics for years and had always been my staunchest defender. "Clara," my mother began, leaning across the sticky table. "Let's all just talk about this rationally." "Rational," Maya interjected. "Like ignoring your daughter's emergency heart surgery. This is a family matter," Tiffany snapped. "Funny," I said. "I was family when you needed your credit cards paid off." My father held up his hands placatingly. "Princess, we understand you're hurt, but this revenge, it's beneath you." "Revenge?" I leaned in, my voice low. "This isn't revenge, Dad. These are boundaries. This is me finally, after 38 years, saying no." Tiffany slammed her cappuccino on the table. "You're just being selfish. Do you have any idea what this is doing to me? My anxiety is through the roof. My followers can tell something is wrong," Maya snorted. "Your sister almost died and you're worried about your Instagram aesthetic. Stay out of this." Tiffany shrieked at Maya. "This is all your fault. You've always been trying to turn her against us." "No," I cut in, my voice sharp as glass. "You did that all by yourselves." My mother started to cry, her well-practiced tears arriving right on cue. "We can fix this, sweetie. Just call Ethan. Just stop all this." "Stop!" My voice was iron. "The house is already in escrow. The accounts are frozen. It's done." Tiffany leaped to her feet so fast her chair clattered backward. "You ungrateful!" She grabbed her latte and hurled it directly at Maya, who dodged just in time. The entire cafeteria went silent. Security guards started moving toward our table immediately. "And that," I said slowly, as if explaining something obvious to a child, "is exactly why this is happening." As security escorted a screaming, thrashing Tiffany out of the building, her cries echoing down the hallway, I turned to my parents. "We're done here. Clara, please," my mother tried one last time. "No, I'm scheduled to be discharged tomorrow. When I walk out of this hospital, I'm walking away from this dysfunction, too." I stood up, Maya right beside me. "Oh, and one more thing. I've instructed my lawyer to file for a restraining order against Tiffany. Consider this her first and only warning." As we walked back to my room, Maya squeezed my hand. "Are you okay?" I nodded, feeling a profound sense of lightness. "You know what's funny? My heart's actually been beating better ever since I stopped letting them break it." Behind us, I could hear Tiffany's distant screams mingling with my mother's sobs, the sound of consequences finally catching up. The Florida house sold in 3 days for well over the asking price. I was signing the final closing documents from the comfort of my new apartment, where I had been recuperating for the past week. Ethan sat across from me, sliding a cashier's check for $4.2 million across the table. "First thing you're going to do with it?" he asked. "Hire an estate sale company to clear out the rest," I said, my hands steady over the check. "Everything goes, including the piano." The baby grand piano had been my sanctuary as a child, a place to hide. My mother had given it to Tiffany for her 16th birthday, despite knowing that I was the only one in the family who played. Especially the piano. My phone buzzed with a news alert. A local socialite had been forcibly removed from a luxury boutique after a belligerent incident with the staff. The thumbnail photo showed Tiffany, mascara streaming down her face, being led out by security. "Your sister is making headlines," Ethan observed, glancing at my screen. She always did want to be famous. I forwarded the article to Maya, who replied instantly. Karma is working overtime this week. The estate sale company arrived the next day. I watched via FaceTime as they cataloged every item, putting price tags on the fragments of my past. Colette, the woman in charge, held up a familiar jewelry box. What about this one? Inside, there was an empty space where my grandmother's ring used to be before I sold it to cover Tiffany's gambling debts. Sell it, I said, my voice void of emotion. Everything goes. Clara, a voice shrieked from off-camera. Tiffany had somehow gotten past security. You can't sell Mom's anniversary china. Colette swiveled the camera to show Tiffany trying to snatch items from a display table. Should I call the police? Immediately. I watched as Tiffany was removed yet again, this time screaming about family heirlooms and betrayal. My phone lit up with texts from my mother. How could you sell our memories? Your father is heartbroken. That piano was a gift for Tiffany. We are still your family. I blocked their numbers without a second thought. Later that afternoon, Ethan called, his voice tight. We have a situation. Tiffany just tried to file for a temporary conservatorship over you. She what? She's claiming your cardiac event has impacted your mental capacity. Says your recent, erratic behavior is proof that you're unfit to manage your own affairs. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Let me guess. She's graciously volunteering to manage my money for me. Got it in one. Don't worry, it's utterly frivolous. No judge would ever make it expensive for her, I interrupted sharply. And Ethan, countersue for harassment. The estate sale began on Saturday. I watched via the security feed on my phone as strangers sifted through the carefully curated life my family had built. The piano sold first to a local music school. Perfect. An email arrived from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line made my blood run cold. Your father's medical records. What is this? I asked Ethan, putting him on speakerphone. Open it. Inside was a single attachment and a one-line message. Your father has the same genetic heart condition. Your mother knew. Tiffany knew. I guess they only liked one daughter enough to warn her. My newly repaired heart skipped a beat. Is this true? I've had it verified, Ethan said quietly. Your father was diagnosed with the same condition years ago. It's hereditary. Tiffany has been monitored for it since she was a child. The room began to spin. They knew. They had known all along that I could have inherited this, and they never told me. Tiffany was protected, but I was left vulnerable. Never me. Ethan! My voice was steady despite the tremor in my hands. Remember how you said the conservatorship claim was ridiculous? Yes. Prove it. Release my complete medical records to the court. Show them I'm not only competent, I'm thriving post-surgery. And then leak the fact that they knew about this genetic condition and deliberately withheld that information from me. That's a nuclear option, Clara. Nuclear feels appropriate. As we hung up, another notification popped up. A certified letter from Tiffany's lawyer. I opened the attachment, expecting more legal threats. Instead, I was looking at a photo of me at 12, standing protectively beside a 6-year-old Tiffany. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, was the caption, "My girls, inseparable forever." Below it, Tiffany had scrawled a new message. Remember who you are supposed to be. My protector. My sister. Please don't make me destroy you. I forwarded the thinly veiled threat to Ethan and opened my laptop. It was time to tell my story, all of it. Decades of manipulation, financial abuse, and shocking neglect. No names, just the unvarnished truth. As I typed, I remembered something my grandmother told me before she passed away. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop protecting people from the consequences of their own actions. My fingers flew across the keyboard, each word another brick in the wall I was building between my past and my future. Let them come, let them threaten. I wasn't their protector anymore. I was finally my own. My blog post went live at midnight. By 6 a.m., it had over 100,000 shares. The title was simple: A Story of Family Toxicity and the Fight for Survival. I hadn't used a single name, but anyone who knew our family would recognize the truth in an instant. Maya was the first to call. "Have you seen Twitter? You're trending." I refreshed my feed. Thousands of comments poured in, most from people sharing their own eerily similar stories of family dysfunction. The term golden child syndrome was everywhere. "Your mother's country club friends are having an absolute field day," Maya said, a hint of glee in her voice. Apparently she had to leave her tennis match early because everyone was whispering. My phone buzzed. It was Julian, Tiffany's on-again, off-again boyfriend. "Your sister is losing it," he said, skipping any pleasantries. "She's been screaming for hours, throwing things. I can't do this anymore." "Not my problem, Julian. She's saying you're lying about everything, that you're just jealous of her." I laughed. "Ask her about Dad's heart condition. Ask her why they never told me I was at risk for the same thing that almost killed me last month." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. They knew. Since we were kids, Tiffany got tested. I didn't even know it ran in the family. "Jesus Christ," he breathed. "I'm done. Tell Ethan I'll give a statement about her behavior if he needs me to." By noon, the story had been picked up by local news outlets. Prominent families' dirty laundry aired in viral post. A story of alleged medical neglect and financial abuse. They didn't use our names. They didn't have to. The next call was from my father. "Princess, please. They're asking me to step down from the board at the country club." "Tragic," I said. "Almost as tragic as not telling your daughter she had a potentially fatal heart condition. We were trying to protect you from worry. No, you were trying to protect Tiffany from any competition as usual. Your mother is devastated. Our friends are finally seeing who you really are." Ethan called with an update. Tiffany's conservatorship petition was thrown out. The judge literally laughed her out of the courtroom. But there's more. "She sent a cease and desist, claiming your blog post has caused her irreparable emotional distress." Perfect. Counter with the medical records. Already did. Her lawyer withdrew the letter less than an hour later. An email dinged in my inbox as I was going over asset transfer documents. It was from Julian. "Thought you should see this. She has no idea I recorded it." The attached video showed Tiffany in her apartment screaming at our parents. "Fix this, make her stop. I can't have people looking at me like this. Do something." My mother's voice pleading, "Darling, we're trying, but try harder. I'm the one that matters. I'm your real daughter." The video cut off. I forwarded it to Ethan with one word: leverage. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a picture of my grandmother's ring, the one I'd sold for Tiffany. The message read, "Looks like something is missing from your life." "Who is this?" I typed back. "Someone who bought it from a pawn shop. Want it back, meet me." I blocked the number and called Ethan. "They're getting desperate." "Good," he said, "because I just filed the harassment suit, and Clara, the ring thing, that was amateur hour. I bought your grandmother's ring back months ago. It's sitting in my office safe." Tears pricked my eyes. "You did?" "Of course. I had a feeling you'd want it back someday." That evening, my blog post was picked up by a national news network. My inbox was flooded with interview requests. Dr. Phil's producers called twice. Then came the voicemail from my mother. It was a chaotic mix of sobbing, screaming, and pleading. "Please, baby, we can fix this. Just tell everyone you were confused. Say you made it all up. We're your family." I played it for Maya over a glass of wine. "Wow," she said. "She almost sounds sorry." "She's not," I replied, taking a sip. "Listen closely. She's not sorry for what they did. She's sorry they got caught." My phone buzzed again. A new tabloid headline. "Local socialite has dramatic meltdown at charity gala." Tiffany had been escorted out of yet another event. "Your sister is really committing to this public spiral," Maya commented. "She's never had to face a single consequence in her life. She doesn't know how." I opened my laptop and started typing again. Not another blog post. This was an email to my realtor. Subject line, "Inquiry properties in Southern California." "Running away?" Maya asked, reading over my shoulder. "No," I said, thinking of my grandmother's ring in Ethan's safe. "Running toward something." As if on cue, my mother's number flashed on my phone's screen. For the first time in my entire life, I felt no compulsion to answer. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some fires have to burn until nothing but the truth is left in the ashes. The family home looked smaller than I remembered. I stood in the driveway, keys in hand, staring at the colonial facade that had housed so many carefully constructed lies. "Do you want me to go in first?" Maya asked, standing beside me. "No, I need to do this myself." I had come to collect the last of my things before the move to California. Ethan had arranged for a police presence, just in case, and the sight of the squad car parked discreetly down the street felt surreal. The front door creaked open before I could use my key. My mother stood in the doorway, looking strangely diminished without her usual flawless makeup and designer clothes. "You brought the police." Her voice was broken. "I brought witnesses," I corrected, nodding towards Maya and the officer who was now walking up the driveway. My father appeared behind her. "Princess, this is entirely unnecessary. After Tiffany's last stunt, I'd say it's very necessary." They stepped aside, letting us pass. The house smelled of desperation and Chanel No. 5, my mother's signature stress-cleaning scent. "I'm here for my things," I announced, heading for the stairs. "Just some childhood photos and documents." "Wait," my mother called out. "There's something you need to know first." I turned, watching her twist her wedding ring, a telltale sign of an impending manipulation. "You should sit down for this." "I'll stand." She exchanged a look with my father, who gave a slight nod. "It's about your adoption." The word hung in the air like thick smoke. Maya's hand found my arm, her eyes searching mine. "My what?" My mother's voice trembled. "You're technically your Aunt Aurelia's daughter. When she died, we took you in. You were only 2. We never told you because we wanted you to feel like you were part of our real family." The room tilted on its axis. Aunt Aurelia, my mother's sister who had died in a car crash, my mother, my real mother. My father stepped forward. "We loved you just like you were our own." "Stop." My voice was ice. "You loved me like your own. You let me believe I was your biological child while you withheld life-saving medical information that, it turns out, was never genetic for me. You prioritized your biological daughter while I paid her bills, cleaned up her messes, and almost died alone in a hospital. We didn't want you to feel different," my mother pleaded. "Different?" I let out a harsh laugh that sounded foreign even to my own ears. "You mean like how you treated me differently my entire life?" Heavy footsteps on the stairs announced Tiffany's arrival. "Oh, good. She finally knows she's not my real sister." "I'm not," I said, turning to face her. Then I guess I'm not really responsible for you anymore, am I? All those years of guilt, of obligation, they never even belonged to me. You ungrateful, Tiffany started, but my mother cut her off. We gave you everything, she cried. A home, an education, opportunities. No, I interrupted, my voice ringing with newfound clarity. I earned those things, every single one, while you were busy coddling your real daughter. I walked up the stairs, pushing past a stunned Tiffany. In my old room, I found the box I was looking for. Photos, documents, memories. Tucked at the bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, was a small frame. Inside was the last photo ever taken of Aunt Aurelia, my mother, cradling me as a newborn. Downstairs, chaos had erupted. Tiffany was screaming about inheritance rights. My mother was wailing about family loyalty. My father was trying to talk over them both about having a sensible conversation. I came down the stairs holding my box. The police officer was moving toward the door. "That's my baby album," Tiffany shrieked, lunging for my box. The officer stepped between us. "Actually," I said quietly, "these are photos of Aunt Aurelia, my mother's photos. I'm taking what is mine and I'm leaving what never was. You can't just walk away from this family," my mother cried, grabbing my arm. I pulled away from her grasp. "I'm not walking away from my family. I'm walking away from the people who kept me around as a convenient backup plan. There's a difference." "We'll sue," Tiffany shrieked. "We'll take everything." "Go ahead," I said, reaching the door. "But remember, I have proof of financial fraud, medical neglect, and now, proof that you knowingly withheld my adoption status while leveraging it against me. Let's see how that plays out in court." A stunned silence fell over the room. I turned to them one last time. "You know what's funny? You kept that secret because you thought it would make me feel less than, but knowing the truth, it finally sets me free. I'm not your backup daughter. I'm not your ATM. I'm Aurelia's daughter, and I am done carrying your burdens." Maya opened the door, and bright sunlight flooded the dim hallway. Behind me, I could hear my mother's sobs, my father's failed attempts at comfort, and Tiffany's incoherent rage. But ahead of me, there was nothing but open road and possibility. "Ready?" Maya asked. I clutched my box of true memories, feeling lighter than I ever had before. "Ready." We stepped out into the sun, leaving the house of lies and its shadows behind for good. In my pocket, my phone buzzed with an alert about another lawsuit threat from Tiffany's lawyer. Let them come. I had the truth on my side now. And the truth, I was learning, was the most powerful weapon of all. The California sun streamed through my office window as I finished typing the final entry for my blog. My heart, now steady and strong, beat in a perfect rhythm with the clicking of the keys. "And that's when I realized that family isn't about blood or obligation," I wrote. "It's about choice. It's about the people we choose every single day to let into our hearts." My phone lit up with a call from Ethan. "The lawsuits are officially dismissed," he said, a note of triumph in his voice. "All of them. The judge called them, and I quote, frivolous and malicious attempts at financial manipulation. How's Tiffany taking it?" "Not well. Have you seen the tabloids?" I pulled up the latest headline. "Socialite's public meltdown goes viral. MY sister has ruined MY life." The accompanying video showed Tiffany throwing a drink at a paparazzi photographer outside a Manhattan eatery. "She's trending again," I said dryly. "Just not the kind of fame she was hoping for." "Speaking of trending," Maya remarked, pointing to an unread email on my screen. It was from my mother. The subject line, "Your father's birthday." Inside was a photo from our last family vacation before everything imploded. Below it she had written, "We miss you, can't we just go back?" I hit delete. My doorbell rang. Maya stood on the porch, holding 2 coffees and a small, elegantly wrapped box. "Special delivery from Ethan," she said, handing me the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was my grandmother's ring. The one I had sold for Tiffany, the one Ethan had saved. But now it had been placed on a delicate new chain, transformed into a necklace. "Ethan said you should wear it differently now," Maya explained. "New beginnings deserve new meanings." I fastened it around my neck just as my laptop chimed with a donation confirmation. I had just sponsored a year's worth of cardiac screenings for low-income families at the local hospital. The program was named the Oralia Project, after my biological mother. "Your support group is starting soon," Maya reminded me. "Are you ready?" I logged onto the video call, and dozens of faces from around the country populated my screen. People who, inspired by my story, were finding their own strength. We weren't just healing ourselves, we were building something new together. "Welcome, everyone," I began. "Today we're talking about setting boundaries without the guilt." Halfway through the session, my phone buzzed with a text from Julian. "FYI, Tiffany is trying to sell a story about your adoption to the tabloids. Don't worry, I sent them that video of her admitting to financial crimes instead." I smiled. Karma was definitely working overtime. Another email appeared, this one from my father. The subject line made me pause. "I am sorry. For what it's worth," he wrote, "I was wrong." We were all wrong, not just about how we treated you, but about what family meant. You are a stronger person than any of us ever were. For the first time, his words held no power over me. I didn't need his validation or his apology. I was no longer the girl starving for a crumb of affection from her family's table. The support group meeting ended with our now standard affirmation. "Today, I choose myself." Maya pointed at my laptop screen. "Look at your blog comments." A new comment stood out. "I left my toxic family today. Your story gave me the courage." Thank you for showing me that walking away isn't giving up. It's growing up. I touched my grandmother's ring, now resting over my heart instead of weighing down my hand. "Ready for dinner?" I asked Maya. "That new Thai place has a patio. Oh, and I invited someone from your cardiac support group, that writer who also survived family drama. She seemed cool." Outside, the sunset painted the sky in shades no paint swatch could ever capture. My phone buzzed one last time. Tiffany had posted another long diatribe about familial betrayal. I turned off the notifications and smiled at Maya. "You know what? I think I'm finally done carrying their stories. It's time to write my own." We walked towards the restaurant, my grandmother's ring catching the last of the sun's rays, and behind us on my blog, a stream of new comments poured in. "You helped me find my voice. Today I chose myself. Thank you for showing us the way out." Revenge had started me on this path, but it wasn't what was holding me up now. That came from something far more powerful, the power of choice, of building a life where love didn't require self-immolation. My heart beat steady and true, no longer racing to please or breaking under the weight of an obligation that was never mine to carry. This was peace, this was freedom, and it tasted so much sweeter than revenge ever could.